Yeah.
I mean, they all approved the Boogie Bomb livery.
We are live, but
Remember back in the day when you taught me to live and I taught you to pray. We went in the battle together, no matter the weather, we never delayed. You gave me commands, I always obeyed. I never let you go astray. I never thought I'd see the day that you would come and just betray me. Sick of playing silly games, you never loved me anyway. You should not have let me get away, cause now I'm looking for my prey. I'm bigger, I'm better, my mind is a weapon. I won't ever let up. You try to break me down and I'ma just get up they ask me how I did it, I'ma just tell them I rose up. I'm a survivor. Fight for my life. Coming back stronger. I will arise. I'm a survivor. Fight for my life. Coming back stronger. I will arise. Staring at you from afar, analyzing every scar, asking myself how we got here. Remember, this is who we are. I am not here for revenge. I did not come to make amends. Not here to repent for my sins. I just came here to win. I just came here to end. I just came here to fight. Show you everything you said I couldn't be. I became overnight. This for the blood, this is for the tears, this is for my pain and my plight. Two walked in, but only one of us is walking out of here tonight. I'm a survivor. Fight for my life. Coming back stronger. I will arise. I'm a survivor. Fight for my life. Coming back stronger. I will arise.
Good evening, ANZ ESeries friends and family. We are here at round 4 of the Formula Ford series. Last round, it was Shepherd, Doyle, and Brunt that took the victories in our 3 races. We got another 3 races coming to you tonight from Donington Park, a very tough, very technical circuit. And alongside me, producing and providing co-coms, as always, is my friend and colleague, Mitchell Daddy Patterson.
Good evening. I am happy to be here, as I always am. And I know you said friends and family, but as far as I'm concerned, anybody that is here tonight and watching, you're all my family.
Well, you see, sometimes we like our friends more than family. You know what they say, friends are the family you get to choose. So I don't know if that's better or worse. You're going to have to convince me on that one.
Are you familiar with the concept of found family?
Ah, yes. Good comeback.
Yeah, found family.
You know what? I think you would have believed that some of these drivers were twins with how close they were sticking to each other on the track at times. It was like some of them just couldn't get away from each other, and we saw multiple incidents last round. It was a spectacular round. I highly recommend, if you didn't watch it and you're coming back to this series after a week hiatus, to go back and watch the broadcast from last week, because some of the moves were astounding and the drama was phenomenal. It's a reduced grid this week. Not sure why it's so reduced. Only the 7 cars out on track at the moment. Made that 8 cars that are registered into the session. But it is a case of quality over quantity, with all 4 of our podium sitters from the last round taking part tonight.
Yeah, a little bit of a reduced field, though I don't think that's going to affect the quality of racing, because all the good guys have turned up, and we have the one and only Kenny Connermus back this week as well with us, who made his debut with us last week in stunning fashion, if I recall.
He certainly did, and he is genuinely one of the fastest guys in sim racing in the world. Renowned for his exploits in Gran Turismo land, I believe. But joining us for the Vermilion, in the Vermilion-sponsored ANZ ESeries, which is wonderful to see. And he's going to give all these boys a real target to chase. But he definitely didn't have it all his own way last time out. It was a pretty close run contest, if I remember right.
Yeah, I believe he got caught up. A little bit of a love tap coming through the double right-handers at Road America last week, and sort of sent him sprawling back down the field, and gave the win to Tao, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that sounds familiar to me, even with my legendarily shocking memory if you ask anybody that I've ever worked with. We're just watching, I believe that's Miles going off the track, having a bit of an excursion. He's just, checking what it's like out there, what the grip levels, so if it happens in a race, he can get back on track as quick as possible.
He's quickly cooling down his tyres, just get him in the grass over there and drop a few degrees, come back on. It's that next level strategy from Mr. Miles.
Yeah, of course, and that was a strategy deployed to what's the word I'm looking for? Infamously deployed in one of the big endurance races a year or two ago.
That was the Spa 6 hour last year, I think. So it's only just been 12 months, and then you remember the guys doing the full laps on the grass before jumping back on?
To keep the tyres cool and then getting a right telling off, if I remember right.
Yeah, it sort of flew under the radar, but I think enough people jumped up and down about it that they finally did something, and they introduced a new rule into the code about something like unsportsmanlike conduct. I'd have to recheck it, but only the racing surface, which is whatever they determine, and unsportsmanlike conduct. It was like a blanket for anything that they felt.
Yeah, I think they kind of try to bring in a blanket statement to say if you use any exploits that are obviously exploits and not just sort of a quirk of iRacing compared to real life, then they sort of have the rights to treat you harshly on that. And something like that was fairly obviously an exploit with the amount to which it did cool down the tires. There are also things like you've seen. I wonder if it could come into effect if you ever have like a few years ago. I think you used to be able to run a negative rake and get massive straight line speed without negative impacts in the corners.
Fascinating. Now that one I had not heard of. Was that a glitch in the suspension geometry coding, or was it actually the effects of aero with negative rake generating lift and making the cars a smidge like removing downforce on straights? Is that?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure as to the specifics of how it worked. I just know it was a thing, and I think it may even have been track specific to like Spa or something. But it was a bit of an exploit that some people were using. I think in the F3s.
The same negative rake in the F3s?
I think so. It was something weird like that. I can't remember the specifics. Again, my legendary memory is betraying me. But negative rake was definitely a thing that people were using, even though you would never do that in real life, as I understand it.
No, I can't think of a situation where you would want to use negative rake. It would just upset the handling characteristics of the car too much. So, it definitely has to be like a quirk of the coding in the game. I would think. I wouldn't think the aero model in the game would be good enough. Yes, and
as a developer, I have to say, I think you should go very, very gently on any exploits that are found in games, because it is incredibly easy to end up with bugs in your code. And like any good software, any good product owner, or not product owner, any good project manager for anything to do with software will leave like plenty of time for looking at the bugs and basically leave an ongoing time towards fixing bugs, because it's just how coding works. It honestly, it's a miracle that anything runs. And I'm not just referring to my own code there. I'm referring to code that I've seen in production, which makes me scared.
Oh look, if anyone ever had a look at my code, I do have a background in IT. If anyone ever looked at my code, they would think that it was written by like several different people. That's
yes. The scary thing is when you look back to code that you wrote about 3 months ago and you think, oh, what absolute turd wrote this? And then you realise it was you, and you're just like, oh my god, what? Had I gone momentarily mad? And it's just the way it is.
I'm always more impressed when I look at my code than I am when I write it, because I go back and I forget the parts that I stole from other people and the bits that were mine.
Ah, yeah. So you're like, oh my god, I was smart that day. When
It's normally bits of brilliant code held together by like string, gum, and band-aids.
Yeah, that sounds like my driving. It's the occasional phenomenal corner held together with Stringham and Rankades for the rest of the lap, just trying to keep the thing pointing in a straight line. Usually to a lack of success, but one of the drivers having a lot of success, as we expect, is Kenny Economos. He's currently leading the pack, but it was very close between him and Sean Doyle, with Sean in second about halfway through this qualifying session. Shepherd in third, Miles in fourth, Jamie Christensen in fifth, and then David Milne in sixth.
Big moment for Kenny there. He was on for a pretty good lap too, which is unfortunate. Sort of coming down on the last sort of sector of the track. We'll stay on board with him now, because I want to see. I want to catch his whole next lap.
I mean, that's a very, very good idea. We'll learn a lot from being on board with someone of the quality of Economos. Here he is, approaching the hairpin. Nice wide hairpin, actually. It's a really deceiving corner. I think it's easier to make it sharper in your head than it is, just because it is so wide. This is a very, very difficult corner. It's blind on entry, so I have to bring it back in for a late apex to get a good exit onto the straight, which Economos has done perfectly there to give himself the best setup for his next qualifying lap. First corner all the way onto the pit exit, bringing it onto that curb. Oh, it's carried a bit too much speed, got a bit loose mid-corner, goes into the grass. Yeah, it obviously will get away with that for this quite a lap, but in the race that's not too bad. You can get away with that without losing too much time. Will cost you position if you're in a close fight though.
Yeah, so we've got 5 minutes left in this qualifying now, and Sean has actually just pipped Kenny by 0.026.
That's phenomenal.
And I think as we're on board with Kenny here, is he slowing down to cool these tires, or is he just about to reset? Look at the rage in the steering wheel from Kenny here.
I think he may be about to reset. Surely that's not him actually doing that.
I don't know. Maybe it was like a quick restart of his steering wheel or similar. Or some.
Maybe
or some
that's what
next,
it looked like.
Yeah, or perhaps it's some next level tactic to get heat into the front that I'm just not familiar with.
Yeah, it was odd. It'd be great to question him about it afterwards. So you'll have to keep that in mind for when we get to interview time. If Kenny Economos finishes in the top 3, which is not a safe bet, but he'd definitely be one of the favourites.
I don't know if it was ever a very good tactic, but I do remember doing similar things in karting to try and quickly generate heat in my outlap. You know, a quick left and right as I'm going down the main straight, slip in the rear and sort of forcing a little bit of understeer through the corners just to try and generate a little bit of heat in my tires before we got going. I don't know if it was the best idea. I'm sure there are some karters that are listening to me right now, ready to pull their hair out the way that I'm talking about it, but that's the best I've got.
Yeah, I always feel like it's a bit like golf, in that you'll always just get randoms telling you things that you think you should do, because it's actually all a bit of dark art, and everybody thinks they know the best way to do it, but actually very few people do.
We've all got no idea. I always wanted to do a lap like with the oversteer understeer thing, and then come in and quickly stick a tire probe into the right into the depths of the tire to see how good it was. But I didn't own a tire probe. I didn't have that. Those are actually pretty expensive in karting. They're like $600. So I could never do that.
Could you not just take like a meat probe, stick it in? Would that not work?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I think the tire probes are a little thinner and they get in. I don't know. By the time I think the heat manages to travel down to the end, it might affect the results. I'm just guessing. I'm not sure. It could be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to put a meat probe into one of my tires and then test it. I'll be honest, but yeah, I reckon it must be thinner. Surely, it's got to be. Anyway, belies how little we know what we're talking about, really. but Kenny Moss knows what he's doing. This has been a pretty tight lap so far. I'll be interested to see what the time is at the end of it. And look at the amount of rotation he gets.
So we're seeing a 1:37.4 as a prediction here, but this is his first lap back out. And so now he's got a little bit of heat in those tyres, and it does take a while for these to come up to temperature. We do know that compared to like GTs or prototypes or just about any other car, you need to try and keep the tyres as cool as possible to get your fastest lap. Whereas in these Formula Fords and Skippies and the Vs, it takes like 3 good laps before you've got enough heat in your tyres. So maybe what we saw before was rage in Kenny's steering wheel, where he's like, oh no, I've lost several laps worth of heat, and now I need to reset. And his fuel load's coming down as well, which is a 37.1, which puts him 2/10 off of Sean Doyle. And look, if Sean Doyle can match or beat Kenny here, I'm going to be massively impressed, because Kenny is one of the best racers in Australia.
And Sean Doyle is the first man into 136s, but he's just been joined by Jamie Christensen. He leapfrogs him and goes into pole position by just shy of half a tenth of a second, which is nothing in real terms. That's how close it is. Very little separating the top 2, and to be fair, very little separating the top 5. Only half a second from Christensen in first down to Ben Miles in 5th.
Well, it's going to be even less in a second, because we're seeing a 36.5, 36.6 as a predicted lap for Kenny here, as we cross the line.
Did you see how much he fought the steering wheel in the middle of that corner? And he does take pole position. That predicted lap time proving to be accurate at 1:37.730.
One left to go.
And that'll be the last lap he gets in this session. That's decent, because he's gone off track, ruining what could have been his final lap.
So there's not enough time for another one, but Sean Doyle is out on track at the moment. He's on for a 1:36.7.
So going plenty fast at the moment is Sean Doyle in the.
It's gonna be. This is gonna be close. This is gonna be so close. It's all down to this last corner. So 1:36.7.
It may be saved by the Bellows, who's got the 2 hairpins to go. Is he going to make it to start finish line, or will it be good enough? The 2 things may very well be interlinked.
We are gonna come down to I think hundredths. There's gonna be hundredths between these guys. 5 seconds left to get across that line. Sean Doyle.
I don't think he did. He got there, and he got second place. A 1:36.830. Almost steals it at the very, very, very depth. Not quite enough to get past Kenny Moss, though. Although saying that, hasn't come up on your standings, so we may have to wait to see.
Not updated yet.
Grid.
Okay, there it is. All right, so let's have a look at our grid for the race. So starting up, we've got Kenny Moss with a 1:36.73, and then 1/10 behind him, Sean Doyle. Then we've got Jamie Christensen with a mere 1/10 and 3/100ths behind. Then another slightly larger step back to Brodie Shepherd at half a second. Then Ben Miles at 6/10. David Milne, a little bit of a jump back on 1.5 seconds. Matthew Bruntforce Trauma with 1.8. David Atkinson at 3.1. And finally, Nick Burling, who has not set a time. We do have all of our drivers jumping onto the grid now.
And they'll be about to get the right act, as always, read to them by Ben Faulkner and Fitzroy Beaumont in race control tonight.
Yes, and a big thank you to our boys doing the race control. Without them, we don't have a race. You know, they're not. It's not a fancy job. It's often a thankless job. But we do make a point of giving a shout out to those boys every time we are on stream, don't we?
Yeah, and those boys just love their racing, so it's very sad that they're not on the racetrack tonight, and they are taking that punishment. Should we call it punishment? No, that pain, just so that they can bring you guys the races. So if you ever see one of them in person, or they're ever next to you on the racetrack, just give them a beer, give them a pass. You know, do something to let them know that you appreciate them.
I'm hoping to see Fitzroy in person later this year. Actually, I'll give him a big daddy cuddle.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I'm sure he'll love that.
I'm not quite old enough to be his biological dad, but might be in with a shot at seducing his mother. So.
You are, of course, taken though. So
no,
purely...
I'm not. I am aggressively single at the moment, ladies.
Oh, are you? Are you?
Yes, I am.
You do have a dog, though.
I do have a dog. Yes, I've got a fur child named Basil. He's a beautiful border collie. He's a great boy.
So you will have to compete with Basil for
my
Mitch's
affections,
attention.
yes. Yeah, that's true.
And who can compete with a border collie?
No one.
Absolutely beautiful.
So it's a rhetorical question, I'm sure.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Everyone knows that you can't come between any human and their dog.
So you know what I love about these camera angles? So we're looking at the view from the blimp right now, and it is moving. It's moving around, and if we look at the chopper, it doesn't move, which feels kind of backwards. To me, like a chopper might circle around, whereas a blimp would be just a spinch more on the static side.
You know what? I agree. I do think that's backwards.
Yeah. Okay, looks like we're about to go live. Well, the race about to start.
So it's Kenny Conamos leads them away. Sean Doyle in second. Nick Burling in... Jamie Christensen in third place. Everything looking as it was on the line so far. Don't see any overtakes occurring. That's two side by side at the exit of the first corner. I believe that is perhaps Brunt and Mill. Very tight between Doyle, Christensen, and Conamos. Conamos falling down the field. That's him off track. He's got into the gravel. Must have been contact there for sure. We'll have to get a close-up replay of that. And now Doyle is just 0 meters ahead of Jamie Christensen. So they are side by side. Christian just taking the lead from Doyle. And Brody Shepherd now getting into the fight between the three of them.
We will go back and have a look at that in just a moment as we see what's going to happen here with Doyle. Well, between Doyle and Christensen. Looking for a move up the inside there. Just a cheeky little look. Not looking to commit to that. Maybe just a little bit too far back. Christensen taking a lot of grass through that corner. It's going to be an off track. I think that actually might have been a slowdown for Christensen. Sean Doyle
it must have been
in the lead of this race, and I'm just seeing this now. Yeah, I believe that was a slowdown for Christensen. That's going to drop him all the way back down to third. And so now that we've got this front sorted out, let's go back and have a look at what has happened to Kenny. Okay, so we're on board with Kenny here. Let's wind this back a little bit. This looks like it might be a little unforced error by him. Yeah, just a little unsettled on those cold tires. Shallow, along with the shallow line. Yeah,
unless he's been tapped from behind, we can't really be sure from that angle. But I'd be very, very shocked because it's just not a big enough braking zone for a tap from behind, really. I
really don't think that he was capped. I'm not seeing any contact here. And I also believe something might have happened to Nick Burling as well. So we'll jump back and have a look at this.
And Dave Milne involved in that as well, I believe. The two of them way off the pack.
So we're on board with Nick Burling, and that just looks to me like basically the same thing that happened to Kenny, actually. So I'm not going to hold that one against him.
Yeah, it must be very, very tricky through that corner on cold tires. A lot of corners on this track are tricky at the best of times, so you can fully understand how even someone of Conor Moss's high standing can make a mistake like that. Of course, he's got plenty of time to to come back throughout this 20-minute race, and plenty of time to make up for it over the course of the event, with another 2 20-minute races to come after this one. So plenty of opportunities for points, podiums, and victories for Conor Moss to come over the rest of the night. But this does open a beautiful opportunity for Sean Doyle to take the victory. Brodie Shepherd's in second place at the moment, and there's only 40 meters between the two of them, 1.3 seconds. So that's very tight. And then Christensen is right behind Brodie Shepherd as well, less than half a second between the two of them. Bit of a gap from them down to Miles, who's 4 seconds off the lead. Brunton, 4.6 seconds off the lead. That's about a pack of two. And then you've got Atkinson in 6th, 8.9 seconds off the lead, and Conor Moss 9.7.
That's a good recovery by Christensen then. You know, he took a lot of grass there, quite a bit of oversteer, but managed to keep it on the track. He's still within a second of Brodie Shepherd. So well done by him. And that's grass again. Another little off-track excursion. This is uncharacteristically sketchy by Christensen. And that's going to drop him right out of the toe of Shepherd. And that's brought Ben Miles into play as well. Now 6/10 behind him.
Yeah, a little bit sloppy there from Christensen. I wonder if the got caught out a little bit with cold tyres, got on the grass, that cools tyres down a little bit more, gets them a little bit dirty, and causes another incident in the next couple of corners, which we just saw with him going off again. However, he's just maybe not quite got the ultimate pace of Doyle and Shepherd, and is just pushing a little too hard to try and keep up. Should have the pace to stay ahead of Miles here, but Miles is going to have the slipstream, which will help him out. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops over the next 15 minutes.
You know, and that's one of the things about this track, about these cars in general, is that the skill gap between drivers is much less obvious just because of how strong the toe is on these cars. So there's no aero. There's no aero on these cars, which makes the toe even stronger.
Yeah, basically no negative impact in the corners. Very, very little negative impact, and all the benefit down the straights. And because they're slow cars, you get the benefit for longer on the straights. Same as in the Vs, same as in the MX-5, same as in the GR86. And this is a move for third place. Miles trying to go down the inside of Christensen, puts Christensen in the danger zone where we've seen multiple cars spinning at that very corner. Both hang on. Miles getting all out of shape.
No,
there he goes.
Miles! Oh, lost it in the grass. We're seeing this a lot, just these bits of oversteer and the unsettling of these cars going through these corners.
They are surprisingly unforgiving cars when you get it wrong. To say they're meant to be a one of the entry-level open-wheeler options, they are
It's genuinely, it's my biggest complaint. And these and the V have so much snap oversteer. When you compare it to something like the Skippy, it's such a friendly car to drive. Like, that thing just loves oversteer and sliding through the corners. And these certainly do as well, but they are really just prone to looping around on you.
Yeah, the Skippy is almost basically says, how much tyre slip would you like? Okay, I can do that for you. And these cars, they don't ask, and then they scream in your face when you ask for a little bit too much, and around you go. Very very different to say once you get into proper Wings of Slicks territories. The Formula 4 is kind of a midpoint, but certainly very different to say your Formula 3, where you really start getting some downforce, or even the USF 2000. Very different driving style, and much less settled than any of those cars, but fantastic to race side by side in.
Oh, they were great. Real easy to handle. You really could go quite aggressive in your wheel-to-wheel racing with those things, even if the punishment on open wheels is fairly severe. So,
Yeah, well,
Brodie Shepherd here, just hanging on to the back of Sean Doyle, just staying in that toe, not really gaining too much time on him over the last couple of laps, although we are sort of creeping down into that sort of 1 second territory over the last sector or two. And the closer he gets, the stronger that toe is going to get. It starts at about sort of 1.5 seconds, but once you get within about 1.1 to 1.2, you really start feeling the difference. And it's almost at that point, it almost becomes like a vacuum, where once you're in that, you just get continually sucked closer and closer to the car in front of you. But Sean doing a pretty good job right now to sort of pull that gap back a little bit to 1.3.
I think that was Nick Burling who just saw on the inside of that corner, dropping down the standings, having a rough start to life at Darlington Park is Burling, but he didn't do any practice, came into qualifying at the last minute, didn't set a lap time before coming into the race. So watch for Burling, hopefully to have a better look of it in race 2 or 3. This is basically a practice session for him, and then the real work starts in the next 2 races is how I would look at it, and how I hope Nick is looking at it, rather than getting frustrated at struggling in race 1. And I just want to go back to that battle with you're talking about with Doyle and Shepherd, because we've seen these guys share the podiums a few times in the Formula Fords. They've definitely been 2 of the class acts of the series. We don't mention Willow Springs to Brody, had a terrible round there, but other than that, these 2 have been 2 of the informed drivers, 2 of the drivers to be
to Brody. I distinctly remember him sitting and watching the race, for watching 2 laps of that race from a comfortable position on the beach.
Yeah, you have those moments as a driver where you just cannot gel with a track car combination, or it's just not working for you that night. Like when all of a sudden, as a soccer player, you can't do a penalty kick, you just sky it every time, or in golf when you lose your swing, or tennis you keep hitting the nets. He had one of those nights, and he immediately messaged me afterwards and said, "Please tell me you weren't broadcasting for some reason tonight." To which I replied, "Yes, and we watched you plenty of the time." So
we got quite a good shots of Brody Shepherd beached.
Yes, we found all I was missing was the swim trunks really. Some butcher smugglers. That's what we.
Does anyone remember that one? Beach Des Brew? No?
Actually, what's that from? It sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
Old days of the internet, basically.
Yeah.
There's a whale sitting on a beach in a Kiwi accent saying, "These Beach Des Brew. Want a chip?" I'll find it after this.
Back when the internet was good?
Yes. Back when it still had some of its innocence.
So when it had a bit of a soul?
Yeah. Back when people were still sending GIFs. Or Flash animations. Flash animations, I mean.
Oh my god, Flash. What a flash from the past. And Kenny Colmas here about to flash past Brunt and get back up into 4th place. What a recovery from Kenny. He's got his work cut out if he's going to catch Christensen in for place, who's another 3.7 seconds up the road. But he's got tremendous pace as Conomos. 1:36.8 on the last lap. One of only 4 drivers in the 36s, and they are the 4 drivers at the front of the field. And funny enough, pretty much everyone else in the 38s, which just shows you the chasm between the top 4 and the bottom 5 in this race.
Now, I know you just said, what did you use? Flash? Was that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, just flashed past him, and he definitely did, because I think I just witnessed a sex crime. He's nearly pulled a second on him already within the lap. Kenny is flying. Kenny is angry.
He is, and you know what? He's right to be, because he knew he had a really good chance of winning this race, and he made a mistake on one really easy mistake to make, a mistake we've seen other drivers make, particularly on the cold tires. But you know, Kenny's really, really quick, really, really good, really, really consistent. As I say that, almost jinxed him. You know what? I should just stop talking about it, because
driving this car to the very limit, and he just set the fastest lap. Last lap as well. It was like a 1:36.645.
Yeah, he's decided, I'm not finishing off the podium in this race.
That's faster than anybody got in qualifying.
What absolutely amazing pace we're seeing from Kenny. Is he going to have enough time though? He's still only catching by generously 1/4 of a second a lap, and he's got 2.8 to Christensen ahead of him. That's going to be tough to overcome in what have we got? Maybe
7 minutes,
5 laps.
Okay, well consider this. All he's got he doesn't have to make 3 seconds. He's got to make 1.5. And once he's in that tow, the rest of that time is going to just come to him. It's just going to be given. Like once he's in that tow, he's going to find 2/10 a lap.
and then it'll be in the low 1 minute 36s. Could we even see a 1:35?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe on the last lap. I'd have to know what fuel loads that this setup was running with, because it's a fixed setup series. And so I don't know if they're on with full fuel or what fuel loads they have. But if they're getting near to empty towards the end, then perhaps
you would need to have the perfect lap, wouldn't you? You need to have tyres the perfect temperature, track the best temperature it's going to be for the race, slipstream all the way around from someone who's only a couple of times slower than you, so you're not going to get held up.
Well, he might get that.
Need everything to go right.
If he's going to get it, we're going to see it here. So how much closer is it? 2.3. He's gaining it. He's catching him.
He is, but actually Christensen was faster on the last lap. 1:36.6 for Christensen, 1:36.8 for Economos. So Christensen 2 tenths faster on the last lap, but can he sustain it? Because Economos seems to be bringing that cap down every millisecond that we look at that timer in the bottom of your screen. As he says that, it starts going up. Typical.
Yeah, that's the curse of casting. So we were at 3 seconds. Now we're at 2.2. Either one of them just had a bit of a slow sector, or one of them had an absolutely stonking sector, because it was 1.9 a second ago, and it's back to 1.8 now. 1.7. 1.7. Yep. Oh, they're just trading tenths. These guys. They're just trading tenths. But it is shrinking. It is
every
shrinking.
single corner. This is a proper arm wrestle between the two of them. And there's another arm wrestle going on up with Shepard desperately trying to wheel in Doyle that gap anywhere from 1.5 to 1.0 seconds. And you just feel like all it's going to take is one mistake from Doyle that costs him 3-4 tenths, one perfect lap from Brody, and they're going to be in that slipstream, and then we're going to have game on for the lead of this race in the last few laps.
You know, they've been again. These guys have been trading tenths as well since pretty much the start of the race. You know, I'm gonna do the thing, and I'm gonna put the camera on Sean. I'm sorry, Sean, and I'm sorry, Donna Doyle. I've put the camera on your son, and that means he's gonna have an incident. Because that always happens when we watch Sean.
That is how it works. You're right, and good evening to Donna Doyle, our favourite fan. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah, I think Donna Doyle might be ANZ ESeries' biggest fan.
Absolutely, and you know what? That gap from Doyle to Shepard's just blown out to 2 seconds. I think Shepard's made a mistake this lap.
Oh, it has too. Yeah. Yeah, we're 1.9. Well, I mean, with 3 minutes to go, unless Sean makes a really big mistake, this is just a cruisy win for him. You know, Kenny bins it on the first lap. Jamie Christensen has a bit of an off-track excursion himself early on, and all Sean Doyle is out for a bit of a Sunday drive. And we say this as Kenny Economos sets another fastest lap, a 1:36.5, and he is now right on the tail of Jamie Christensen. There's a half a second between these guys now.
Yeah, I don't think Christensen's long for the podium with Economos in the mood he's in. I don't see how he can hold him off, even for 2 laps. Economos is driving so aggressively, using all of the curb, all of the grass, and a little bit more.
That man just got there?
I saw he was just fully off-road. Oh, look at the slide.
This man is possessed.
I just wanted to apologize to whatever demon has taken control of Kenny, but I swear I didn't mean it, whatever it was. Oh, disconnect? No, Christensen there. I thought we lost Christensen for a second there, but I think he swapped to his viewpoint.
No, we are right on Jamie Christensen's gearbox now. We got a quarter second between these guys in the battle for the last podium position. Going for the over-under there with Kenny Economos, and he's taken it.
Yeah, that's it. It's podium positions for Connor Moss. Oh, well, the side-by-side here. Connor Moss going to have to go round the outside.
Making him go the
At
long
the
way.
final
We got
corner.
another 2 laps to go.
Sprave's going to have the inside for corner 1. If he can stay alongside, not sure he is. No, he's slightly behind. Just going to pull him behind, full of slipstream. Going into corner 1 and doesn't want to compromise his line. Decides it's not an overtaking position. Just running a little bit wide there, Christensen.
I mean, if you're Shepherd right now, you're sweating, right?
Nah, he's got plenty of gap. 5 seconds up the road from these guys. 7 seconds even up the road from these two.
Who did I say? I meant Christensen.
Ah, he's a Shepherd. No, Christensen. Christensen is definitely sweating. There's buckets underneath his seat to catch the sweat because otherwise it's going to ruin the carpet. That's how much he's sweating right now. I can only assume. Oh, look at the squiggle on the exit all over the dirt, but just not so where Connor Moss can sneak past. Recovers well, takes that corner beautifully, does Christensen. Perfectly judged, pulls out a little bit of a gap through it.
It's not enough. I did say that, you know, once he got within that toe, he was really just going to get sort of vacuumed up in behind him. Kenny playing it very safe here. I think we're going to look for an overtake here down this straight because he dropped back a little bit so we wouldn't catch him too much in the corner. And here it is. He's looking for that overlap on the inside, coming into the turn.
This is what he did last time, but didn't get enough pace out of the corner to get the overtake done, and then had to try and hang it around the outside at the final corner, but does get it done this time. I don't think Christensen's going to be able to come back in. Did have a bit of a look at the inside, but thought better of it. Connor Moss solidifies.
Oh,
the
no,
He
yeah.
goes wide.
Look, Christensen, he's back in front.
Yeah, Connor Moss went wide at the final corner, just didn't get it right.
And this is our white flag lap too. This is the last lap of racing. I would say advantage Connor Moss right now, being the following car on the very last lap, when you were this close, puts you in a massively advantageous position. Christensen's got to make this car feel like as wide as a truck this lap.
Yeah, and out front door, still 2.1 seconds ahead of Shepherd. So the knives are away, the guns are in their holsters. They're gonna wait until round 2 before they do battle again, with Vadora looking to take the victory and Shepherd second place. But it's the third place on the podium that is still up for grabs with Connor Moss. Brave move down the inside. Out of that corner. And then
Still
Christensen
wheel to
coming back
wheel.
at him though. Still wheel to wheel.
But it looks like Christensen's got the pace on him right now.
They could not be any closer, could they? Could not be any closer. Next corner is a left-hander.
He's looking for the over-under.
He's not got it done. He's going to have to do what he did last lap, get the move done into the hairpin. Or he's going to wait for the final corner. Might have to wait. Oh, gets a really good run out of there.
Christensen's pulling away from him, at least for the moment, until you know, the toe starts to work a little bit more. Real
Reeves around from the outside. That's
no!
Brave, he's lost it.
No, Kenny!
Christensen takes the final spot on the podium, holding off Connor Moss in a fantastic battle. Connor Moss is going to be lucky to bring it home.
Lost. Oh, he even lost 4th there.
Yeah, finishes in, I want to say 6th.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think so. Unless who was it that was ahead of him? Because we do have Nick Burling.
Brunton Miles.
a couple
No, Brunton
laps
Miles
down.
got him. Brunton Miles have got him.
You know what?
So-
I give it. I got to put my hand out to Kenny though. You know, going full send in the last turn is such a move to make. Like that's fantastic. That's the racing that we want to see.
That is absolutely what I wanted to see. He did a fantastic. It was a fantastic race, and he decided, you know what, I want a podium. I want a podium, and I'd rather get 6th than 4th. And applause for that, and applause to Christensen for holding him off. Absolutely stunning defensive display. We saw how fast Connor Moss was, and even with all that speed, Christensen was able to hold him off. We definitely doubted him in the commentary box, but he has put our foot firmly in our mouths. So congratulations to Christensen on a well-earned 3rd place. Brody Shepherd a bit lonely in 2nd, 3.6 seconds off the lead in the end. Sean Doyle, perfect race. Basically a lights to flag victory once Kenny had his incident on lap 1. Behind them, of course, Brunt in 4th place, Miles in 5th. Atkinson, I think, took 6th. So Columbus, of course, took 6th. Milne took 7th, Atkinson in 8th, and then Nick Burling in 9th. So Nick Burling will take reverse grid pole position with Atkinson alongside him on the front row. And we now got on screen the rest of the offerings of the ANZ ESeries for this week. Tomorrow we got the GR86 from Lion Rock Park. That'll be two 20-minute races, does that say? And then after that, we have the second round of our Enduro series on the weekend. That's on Sunday, 4 hours of Sandown. Entries are still open, LMP3 or GT3 class, whatever tickles your fancy. The first round was great. Please get out there and increase the grid for the second round at Sandown, that most famous of Australian tracks, particularly in the in supercars and tin top land. It is a spectacular circuit that always offers good racing, probably third only to Bathurst and Phillip Island, and what great company it keeps in terms of Australian tracks.
Now, we had a couple of guys starting from pits there. Is that what I just saw?
Certainly seems like they're racing, and this is not the front of the field. We've got Shepherd at the front of the field, Doyle, Ben Miles second, Doyle in third, Atkinson fourth, Christensen fifth, then Milne, Cardinals, Brunt, and Burling. I think perhaps that was two of the leaders, two of the rescue leaders, perhaps deciding they had just a little pace that maybe they'd be better off starting from the pit lane and not getting in the way of the battle at the front. And what about at the front? We've already got Shepherd ahead of Miles, ahead of Doyle, ahead of Atkinson, then Christensen, then Colomas, then Milne and Brunt.
And
Just look at them as
quick shout out to Mama Doyle for hanging with us and watching her son take an easy win in the first race.
easy, but he earned it, didn't he? He didn't make any mistakes, and everyone around him did. We saw, Shepherd in that crucial moments trying to chase down Doyle with half an opportunity of getting himself in place, at least making a battle for the in the final laps, and he just made a big mistake, lost a second of time, and that was all that she wrote in that battle. Whereas Doyle just battered him with absolutely breathtaking consistency.
So this doesn't look like reverse grid. Is that the third race that we have reverse grid? Because I'm seeing Kenny down in 6th at the moment.
But then you got Atkinson up in 5th. You know what? I don't know. I don't know. I thought it was, but we didn't have time to see the grid. So apologies to our viewers who just got caught out by how fast the second race occurred. It's only between the second and the third race that there is a warm up, and we've just been caught out by that. But Brody Shepherd's close to getting caught up by Ben Miles. It's 0.1 of a second between them. They were side by side a couple of corners ago when I decided on my segue, and then they ruined it when Shepherd stayed out ahead. But now Doyle, look at Doyle. He's just got past Miles. They're side by side heading into the chicane. Job done. Doyle's ahead of Miles. Miles just tucks in behind him. Decides he's going to stick with him. Hairpin right hand next. Look for Ben Miles to put a wheel at the inside.
He is. He's going for it too.
Almost looked like he had to get out of it, trying to avoid Shepherd a little bit. And just compromises run to the straight far too much.
Is that a slowdown?
Must be, because Christensen's got past him as well. And
yeah, he's dropping so far back.
Must have been a slowdown at the chicane. And that leads Shepherd and Doyle to do battle. Christensen in third, Colomas in fourth. Oh, this could be tasty.
Colomas moving as well.
I think Christensen's had a mistake at the final corner. He's down to 6th place. Either had to slow down himself or come unstuck, because he's suddenly dropped positions, and he's still dropping some positions down to 7th place. In the pits? Telling me he's in the pits.
Oh, okay. So I've just seen that we have a penalty. Car number 38, drive-through for contact with car number 134.
So that's Christensen drive-through for contact with Matthew Brunt, which we didn't see. Are you able to work your magic? And that's Shepard out. Was that Shepard just sliding off the track?
That was Shepard sliding off the track. Falling down the fourth, fifth, maybe sixth by the time he gets back on. There's a lot of gravel between him and that tarmac.
There
Is
was a
this
lot of
Sean
gravel
Doyle
between him and that
cruising off for another win again?
Sean Doyle, the only man able to keep it on the track at the moment. Really showing them all how it's done. 3.3 seconds ahead of Colomos. He was 1.6 ahead of Miles, 5 seconds ahead of Shepard, who was 5 seconds ahead of Shepard. He was 1.3 seconds ahead of Brunt, then 6.6 down to Christensen, who's at a drive-through. Atkinson, 2.7 seconds behind Christensen. Mill, 9.1 seconds behind Atkinson. And Nick Burling not improving in race 2.
Alright, so let's go back while things are just a little bit settled. Let's jump back and have a look at that race start again. This is Kenny in the pits. So we're looking for this contact at the start that's given this penalty out.
It was a reverse grid because Sean Doyle's at the back of that grid. Just so many people start from the pits. There you go.
Oh, that looks like a straight
hits-
murder, didn't it?
Yeah, just straight up hit him in the back. You can see why he got a drive through. Be interesting to know from his point of view what happened there. If it was just a complete misjudgment or something not responding quite right. Can we see it from his onboard?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. We'll jump on. It was Christensen, wasn't
it? Yes.
Okay. So we're on board with Christensen now, heading down.
So he gets a really good run, and then I think the car head just lifts off to a bit of a
If you're taking that outside line,
confidence lift.
Yeah, first lap,
just
cold
gone out.
tyres. You're right, confidence lift, and I just don't think he was expecting it.
I don't
You know what?
think
I'm
it
going
was
to take
either.
that back. I don't think that's a murder. It's just plain old manslaughter, right?
It's something that happened. Plain old manslaughter. Yeah, let's go with that.
He did.
It's such an
it
easy-
wasn't. There was no intent.
No, it definitely looked better
But by
from
your
that angle. You could
by your actions, you have killed somebody.
Yeah, you could see quite clearly the car in front slowed up, and obviously Christensen not expecting it. There's no brake lights that flash up when you just lift, so he had no way of knowing, no sort of obvious visual warning of, and then the car in front getting close, and by then it was too late. The one thing you could level at Christensen there is, of course, the car in front is entitled to do what they want to take that corner. It didn't do anything crazy. Certainly, a lift there was not unexpected, particularly when you've got
we got a safety car. We got a safety car.
Oh, we do have a safety car. What incident's that for? Must have been another. Apologies, must have been another incident there.
Ben Miles.
Have a look.
Hang on,
I mean, he's in
hang on,
third
hang on.
place.
You see, when all these cars start going
it's
slow, it starts telling me everybody has crashed.
So why you look for that? Just back to the incident with Christensen. The one thing you could say Christensen could have done is left him a little bit more space, because he was certainly in that range where it's perfectly legitimate for him to be there, but you are putting a lot of trust in the car in front not to do something like that. And in hindsight, I think Christensen probably asked himself, did I really need to be that close? But of course, you're a racer, you want to be that close, you want to be in the best position to make a move, and that means being as close to the car in front as you can. And it can be really hard to temper that with leaving yourself enough space in case something does happen. So you really have to judge it on a scenario by scenario basis, and on how confident you are in the driver ahead. And perhaps he thought it was a different driver, or perhaps we've seen Brunt get podiums in this series, so it's a bit of a surprise that he's not quite been on the pace so far here tonight. So maybe just a little bit of a misjudgment there, but certainly I think a drive through is the right call, particularly given the impact that it had on Brunt and the fact that there's no way you could put it down to being Brunt's fault. But yeah,
So on board with Nick
definitely easy to do.
and this might be. This might be what's
spin.
caused it. It
Yeah,
looks
but
okay.
it's
This
back on
is
track.
just
That's
before,
okay.
but everything looks okay.
Unless something else happens at the final corner. It's very easy to follow a spin with another spin.
It seems fine, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We'll see if we can find out the reason for that after race.
Meanwhile, let's run you through the current order. So we've got Doyle in first, Conor Moss in second. That's a battle we've really been wanting to see. Miles in third, Shepard in fourth, Brunt in fifth, Christensen in sixth, Atkinson in seventh, Burling in eighth, and Milne in ninth. Burling and Milne both a lap down, so they are not involved in any fight other than the one between the two of them. And we are over halfway through this race, just 9.5 minutes remaining. And we'll have to wait to see if the safety car will be in on this lap.
You know, I would like to think that the safety car will be in this lap, and we've got Nick Burling, who's a lap down at the moment as well. So is he gonna be passed? Are we expecting to see that?
That will definitely play into the decision for whether we go racing again this lap or not. To wait and see.
What even are our rules for lapped cars with safety cars?
Have we had a lapped car behind a safety car? I think no, we have. We have definitely had it, and we've definitely let them through.
Okay, so we let them through in the past. So we should then expect Burling to be allowed to unlap himself then?
Certainly in other ANZ ESeries races, we have let it through. I don't know if we've had it in the Formula Fords. Couldn't say that.
Yeah,
for
I think this
certain.
is the first time, and it looks like the safety car
Pulling away.
driven by Orlando Black is off. So we are with Sean Doyle to restart this race.
I think that's a sensible decision, particularly as long as the drivers agree that they're allowed to go racing. That's what we all want to see. And just ignore the fact that they're a lap down.
It looks like we're off now too. Sean Doyle not waiting to get anywhere down that straight, just leading them out of that final corner.
Yeah, Sean Doyle putting the hammer down, leading them away, a position he's become very comfortable with over the course of the night. And Nay has been the lap in which he hasn't been in first place. Such has been his dominance so far today. But if anyone's going to end that dominance, you believe it's going to be Conor Moss. We saw Conor Moss has had terrific pace, but to access that pace, he's had to go to places that we just don't see Doyle going, add more risk into his driving to try and make up for the deficit in his car positions due to incidents and a bit of bad luck. But he is right on the tailpipe of Doyle, so it'll be interesting to see if he can put it to good use here and get himself ahead of the Crocodile.
Yeah, this is a savage position. Like, oh no, Kenny, he's done it to himself again. And Sean Doyle once again, just keeping it clean.
Just looked like he put a tyre on the grass on the outside at that long right-hander where you really put the power on very, very early, and just getting it wrong, trying to keep up with Doyle.
We will pick ourselves a replay of this as well. So we're on board with Kenny Conomus at the moment, and yeah, I think he just got a little close to Sean in front and just unsettled the car.
Yeah, I don't think he was willing to give up the momentum that he'd gained on Doyle, and
was that just a bit of lift off oversteer? Is that what you think? Is that what that was?
No, he touches the grass. He definitely gets onto the grass. If we watch it again, he gets well onto the grass, and I think it's before he has any sort of moment. I could be wrong.
We'll
Doesn't
definitely
look like it's
listen
to a smart or
to the
anything.
sound of his to his car here as well. Takes a lot of gravel here. Yeah, no, yep, you're right. That is just grass, isn't it?
It is just grass.
That's what happens when you're using 10/10s.
And I think there's been another incident. Shepherd falling down the order. Was in third place, falling all the way down to 7th. Let's see if we can bring you vision of
Christensen
that.
involved as well. So we're on board with
Brody.
Brody, yeah. Oh, and that was Christensen
No.
on his right hand side.
So Shep's just getting on the dirt, shoots the car off to the inside, and Christensen was the car there, and
So here it is, another
absolutely.
angle. So Brody in front, Christensen.
Oh, he's absolutely pulverized him, hasn't he?
You know, that's another involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah, thank God he didn't do it to Will Power. He would have had a fist in his face, I think.
And this is Christensen's view.
It's one of those things you see it coming from a mile off, and there's just nothing you can do. Couldn't brake.
Look, I feel like Christensen could have avoided that. You know, if he'd lifted, but he just wasn't willing to give up the pace.
I don't know if he could have scrubbed off enough speed. Either way, just all Shepherd's fault. I don't think Race Control have an issue. Just one of those racing things, but really bad luck.
Yeah,
for
that
Christensen.
to
At
me
least
is
he's still in
just
fourth.
a textbook racing incident. You know, it's not on purpose. It wasn't negligent. It's just oops, I've had an off and I've taken someone with me.
Yeah, at least for Christensen, he is in fourth place still. He's within a second of third place, so podium's still on. Probably not in the run for second now, with there being 3.7 seconds between Brunt in the third and Miles in second. But at least that's a consolation prize for Christensen if he can get ahead of Brunt. At the front, it's a tale as old as time, or at least as old as about 30 minutes ago tonight. It's from quarter past 7 Adelaide time. It's been Doyle in the lead, and a whole cavalcade of characters behind him trying to take the mantle out of Co-Star, but it's Doyle in the lead of this production. And currently Miles is the leading Co-Star. How long until the script changes and it's somebody else? We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully Miles does the intelligent thing and doesn't put too much pressure on himself to catch Doyle, and instead does his own thing. But at the moment, Miles was slightly better, fastest lap, but the last lap for Doyle, a 1:36.5, but he must have had an off track because it's not come up as his fastest, even though it is clearly 4/10, almost 5/10 faster than his currently listed fastest lap.
So I've also just received word from our lovely stewards in race control that the reason for the safety car was David Milne had to request a tow after contact with a wall, and our rule in these series is that if you need to request a tow, then there is an automatic deployment of the safety car.
Yes, absolutely. It's a good rule, I think. Because it does two things. It discourages the tow, because you don't want to be the one that causes a safety car. It's a source of embarrassment, and it also adds a bit of strategic variability and some jeopardy to the races, which is what we want.
Yeah, I do like when a safety car sort of messes up the order a little bit. You know, we've seen on a few times tonight where just a couple of incidents here and there sort of separate the field more than it probably should be. I think there should be a few tighter few closer battles up and down the field. Just a few sneaky little incidents here and there. I sort of split everybody up into their own sort of little races. Like on track right now, there isn't anyone that's closer than about a second to each other, and so a safety car really just shakes that up for us, and that's one of the things that I love. And even if you had a bad race, if you stay in it, you can just get lucky sometimes.
Yeah, and if you're someone like a Shepherd, like a Colomos, Like Christensen, who's had some bad luck over the first two races, you stay in it because you know as long as you get a safety car, you might be able to make up any positions you lost pretty quickly with a bit of luck and a bit of good driving for the pack, and then all of a sudden you're back in the race for podiums or the victory, and you're next on that rotating roster of co-stars to join Doyle at the front of the race.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we'd had another, if that Christensen, was it? It was Christensen and Shepard.
Yes.
The crash. If that could very well have brought out a safety car, and if that had, in fact, I'm surprised it didn't. And if it had, then we would have seen, like a 1 or 2 lap sprint for the end of this race, which would have been very spicy, and it would have brought everybody back into play.
Yeah, I'm surprised. The Formula Ford's proving to be quite hardy in that crash. Neither of them needing a tow, neither of them getting a black and orange flag, and both cars able to make the finish, which is quite spectacular. We've got the checkered flag out here as Sean Doyle goes around the final corner to take a second dominant victory in 2 races. Odds on for a third in about 5 minutes' time. Miles gets his first podium of the night, I believe, finishing in second place. Christensen finishes in third. Then it's Brunt will come home in 4th place. Conomos in 5th. Atkinson in 6th. Shepard brings it home in 7th. And then Burling and Milne failed to finish on the lead lap.
And as he always does, Sean is just giving us a masterclass today. You know, he's 2 for 2 in these races, even in the reverse grid.
Yeah, absolutely spectacular. The crocodile showing its might, coming up from the murky depths and just giving an absolute display of its power. And it's not finished yet. It's ripped the creature apart, but it's yet to gobble them up. And I think that might be what we see in race 3.
All right, so we do have a couple minutes between heats 2 and heats 3. Is that right?
I hope so. I believe there is a warm up between the second race.
I want to say there's a 3-minute warm up. And Donna Doyle in chat says, "Fantastic job. Go for the hat trick, son. Make your mum proud." And I'm sure that is exactly what he's going to be aiming to do in our third and final race for tonight.
Of course, the unsaid portion saying that if he doesn't win, she will not be proud. Any pride earned from the first 2 races will be gone.
Nullified.
Nullified, null and void.
So Sean, I'm sure right now, is now racing for the love of his mother.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think if he doesn't win this race, all love is gone. It's fair
we'll wait to hear Mama Doyle's comments on our comments. I'm sure she's furiously typing on the keyboard right now.
Well, if she's at a computer, it could be on a phone.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I mean, it's keypad.
I suppose
keyboard?
it's still a keyboard.
It's not really
yeah, technically a keypad.
it's like a virtual. I would call it like a virtual keyboard. I don't know, maybe just keyboard for short. I think I'm on board with that. Donna's sake. Mama Doyle says he will become an orphan. All right, the pressure is on. We may have pressured Donna Doyle into orphaning her son if he doesn't get the hat trick tonight.
Sean, if you don't win the race and your mother does in fact disown you, it would be inappropriate for me to be your father, so I'm going to rule that out. We do call Mitchell Patterson daddy, so maybe he would be willing to adopt
Sean's got a few more years on me. He's got a couple more years on me, but unfortunately for me, I think I'm within striking distance of Sean. I believe he's within about 50 or 60 kilometers of me. So he very well could make the drive down to my house, and it could be on. Let's just say it could be on.
and then you go, Ben Faulkner saying Shano is the greatest. So you might have competition, Mitch. You might have to fight to be the adopted parents. Maybe the 2 of you can do it. Have a nice little Vermilion family.
Vermilion is already a family.
Well, this is true. This is true. You're all daddies and you're all kids in your own way. Do you have any female representation in Vermilion?
You know, I don't think we do. And Ben's definitely not old enough to be the daddy. I think he's one of the youngest here. Ben, is that right? I can see you in chat there.
I think if he as young as he is, if he was already a daddy, there would have been some poor decisions made in the Flash at the moment.
You're right. You're right. You know, though. You know what? I'm not gonna go there. I'm just not gonna go there.
It definitely happens. It can happen.
It happens far too much, I think.
We won't go there.
And Ben does say yes. He is one of the youngest, but he does certainly have a very mature head on his shoulders. And a big thank you to Ben as well, who is this Ben Faulkner, the lovely man behind Vermilion and the ANZ ESeries.
Yeah, definitely a man ahead of his age in terms of accomplishments in the sim racing world in particular. And Donna saying that Sean's got a great setup in the garage, Donna's in the living room, and they'll have their normal debrief after the race.
I would like to know a little bit more about this debrief, if you could enlighten us, please, Donna.
Yes, please do. Please do enlighten us. And I
also,
think
if you could confirm
the warm-up's about to end, so we can make sure we've got the camera on the grid, because they will be lining up again very, very soon.
And if Mother Doyle could also confirm the distance between Lake Macquarie and Foster, so in the case that I need to leave, I have enough time to do so.
So they're all gridding up now. Doyle at the back with Miles alongside him. Ahead of them is Christensen and Brunt. Ahead of them is Colin Moss and Shepherd. Then you've got Atkinson, Burling, and Milne will take the lead at the start of this race, unless anyone decides to start from the pit lane. Milne and Brunt yet to join the grid. That's who we are waiting on before we can get this motor race started. Just Milne now. An empty space where he should be.
Let's have a quick look at the pit lane, and we'll just see if there's anybody in there. Okay.
Here we go. They're about to start. And they're off. Burning leads from pole position. Atkinson is alongside him. They're going to go 4 wide into the first corner. There's no way on earth that ends well. No, they decide to have a little bit of sensibility, take a little bit of sense in their brains, and it's Shepherd and Colin Moss that can lead them away with Brunt in third, and then Atkinson, then Christensen, then Doyle, then Burling, then Miles. Burling getting all of it at the first corner and just letting the whole pack stream past him, other than Ben Miles, who is stuck behind him.
Oh no,
very
we've got
close.
contact. Christensen and Atkinson, I think.
Yes, I believe you are correct.
That looks
certainly
like
Christensen.
To me another like little overspeed coming through that same part, like the exact same spot as last race.
We have to bring replays of that as soon as we can, but right now there's a great battle at the lead of this race. 0.2 of a second between Shepherd and Colin Moss, with Brunt within a second of the two of them. They're just coming up to the chicane now. Colin Moss starting not to make a move in chicane, going to sit behind and try and get a better exit. And Shepherd duly obliges by going wide into the chicane. Colin Moss is going to be well ahead of them by the time they get to the hairpin. And he's got the inside, although Shepherd breaks very, very late there. He's going to try and carry more momentum, but isn't enough to hold off Colin Moss. Going to have to try and get that position back. Somehow we have seen Colin Moss make mistakes into the final corner before tonight. Will he take it cleanly this time and hold on to the position? I think he has, although he does touch the grass on the outside just a little bit, but keeps it all together. So the end of lap 1 is Connor, Shepherd, Brunt, and then Doyle. And is this the performance from Connor that he has been threatening all around? Is he finally going to be able to put it together and get himself a win? We'll have to wait and see. Sean Doyle is in 4th place, already up 5 spots. And geez, you wouldn't bet against him, would you?
You definitely wouldn't. So let's jump back now and just have a look at that incident we had on lap 1 with Christensen. That is not Christensen. This is what the replay we require. Okay, so I'm with Christensen now. This must be after the crash. Let me step back a little further. Alright, so now we're looking at Christensen. Just a little bit of grass and... yeah, okay, so that's how it happened. Same spot,
Yes.
just a little bit of grass.
All Christensen there was taking the wide line because he was side by side. Just didn't quite get it right, touched a bit of grass, unsettled the car, came across. Luckily enough, there were 2 cars right there, but they didn't get picked up too badly. They did the right thing to minimize the impact. It did make them lose a spot, but and some time. But otherwise, not too. Could have been a lot worse. Could definitely have been a lot worse. Could have ended up with 3 cars in the air and out of this race. Instead, they are all still running. Christensen down in 6th position. Atkinson behind him in 7th. Miles in 5th. Burling is in 8th position, and looks like he may be in the pits. Miles in 4th, Doyle in 3rd, 4th, Brunt, Miles in 5th, Doyle in 4th, in 3rd, Shepherd in 2nd, and Conmos still in the lead, where he's got Shepherd right behind him, pushing him. And we've seen Kenny make a couple of mistakes here tonight. Hopefully he can keep it error-free, but Shepherd doing the right thing, trying to pressure him. Although, to be fair, we have seen Shepherd make mistakes as well. So anything could happen while these two are at the front of the field.
And so, who did we see? Did you see go through the pits?
Was it Burling?
Because I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing that there's any.
I think he's in the pits.
Yeah, Nick Burling pit stop on lap 2. Has he pulled over?
Maybe. I think David Milne is also not participating.
Okay, yeah, Burling looks like he's pulled into the pits and he's called it quits for this one. He's had a bit of a rough session, Nick Burling, but mate, if you're watching this back, we would love to have you back. Please don't be discouraged. This series is open to anybody and everybody.
Yeah, these cars, as we were discussing, really tricky to get hold of. Donington is not an easy circuit, and we saw we didn't get much time in practice or qualifying, so it was always going to be a really tough assignment. So hopefully he's not too discouraged by this. And I tell you who will be encouraged by this, though, is Sean Doyle, currently 2nd in the championship. Will definitely be in the lead of the championship after this round because we had no Tim Vaughan to defend his championship lead. Matthew Brunt currently sits 3rd in the championship, then it's Hancock, then Shepherd, then Black, then Atkinson, then Miles, Ridley, Bennett, Christensen. Christensen's going to improve up the standings, I believe, and then Faulkner and Chapman and a bunch of drivers that have only done one of the rounds so far. For now, it's still Connor in the lead, Shepherd half a second behind, so Connor built up a little bit of a buffer. Then Brunt in 3rd, Doyle in 4th. Doyle not able to make the headway that I thought he might. He's currently he is the fastest man on track, but not able to make the headway into Brunt that I suspected he might have, and is still occupying a 4th spot. Perhaps just taking his time, knows that you can't win the race in one lap alone. And I think we might be about to bring you the championship standings at some point tonight.
Yeah, so we can have a quick look at those. We can bring those up on screen right now, actually.
So you can see Timmy Vaughan at the head of the standings, but he's not here tonight. So Sean Doyle will definitely take the lead after taking 2 wins from the first 2 rounds tonight. Then Matthew Brunt is in 3rd place. Can't see anyone dislodging him from there. Shepherd might have had the opportunity had he kept it on the track. Conor Moss is new to the Formula Fords, but he will immediately occupy a position probably midway up those standings. And yeah, the big story is Sean Doyle's going to take the lead at the championship, and he's going to have quite a healthy margin by the end of tonight, and it could get even healthier if he continues at this pace, because he has brought that gap to Brunt right down, only 0.2 now of a second between Doyle and Brunt. Let's see if we can hop to that and see how that ends, although I think it's only going to end in one way, and that's going to be with Doyle ahead of Brunt. I don't see any other outcome here, unless it is Eniston or Brunt can put on one of the best defensive performances we have seen since the first race, when was it Miles defended from Christensen? Who was it defended from Christensen?
I'm not really sure.
No, it was Christensen defending Christensen defending from Conmos. That's what it was. And that's Doyle getting ahead of Brunt, so the move's already done, and he's going to hold that into the final corner. And there's only 0.1 of a second between Conmos and Shepherd for the lead of this race currently. There they are. You just saw them in the ground. So they're approaching the first corner. Let's cut to the lead of the race. So here we go. Shepherd still trying to find a way past Conmos, and now you've got Doyle 3.7 seconds behind the 2 of them, who will be looking to catch up. Christensen's just posted the fastest lap of 1:36.6 from 6th place, and he's about to overtake Ben Miles for 5th if he gets it his own way. But we won't cut to them. We'll stay on board with this battle, because Conmos and Shepherd are just too close on track for the lead of the race for us to cut away from it. Shepherd got a lovely exit out of that corner. Is he going to be able to use it though? Not there. Conor Moss a little bit more confident, carrying a little bit more speed, taking it wider through there. Now they're approaching the chicane. Such an important corner this, because if you get it wrong, it sets up the car behind you to have an attack into the hairpin.
I'll tell you what, Shepherd is doing a great job to stick with him. And who's that going off in the background?
Doyle?
Is that Sean? That's Doyle. Oh no, he's an orphan. Has Doyle just orphaned himself? He's fallen back down to 5th.
6th.
6th, in fact, yeah. Okay, let's
His best bet might be to call the cheeky toe.
Alright, let's have a look at just what's happened to Doyle here. We'll jump on board with him. Just a little bit too much oversteer. Oh, okay.
Unless he was
He's kept it out of the wall, though. He's kept it out of the walls.
Can we just double check to make sure it wasn't tapped from behind?
We'll stay on board. No, he's just on his own there. He's just organically fallen down. That's just the result of him.
Oh no, I mean into the chicane. Can we be confident that he was by himself? I think he was, but let's just double check to make sure. Because it seemed like quite a nasty amount of oversteer.
No, that can't be it. That's a completely different incident that it's just bought us. That's not it at all. Alright, let's go back to guidance.
Onomas just putting in the fastest lap of the race in his defense from Shepherd, a 1:36.590. Electric pace from Conmos. He did this earlier in the first round when he was on his demon-led recovery. Brody Shepherd sticking with him though. The gap's still only 0.6 of a second, so he's still in the conversation at the front. Doyle dropping out though. He's down to 6th place, and it's going to be hard for him to get back to the podium positions from there.
Doyle was just was like right up the clacker then of Christensen. I'm not quite sure what's led to him going down. I think maybe a slowdown for Doyle. Because it looked like he had lifted there to me. And Donna Doyle has said that the debrief between her and Sean is usually when I tell him he has a knobhead if he stuffs up. So I believe that Sean is gonna cop. He's gonna cop it.
He is gonna cop it. His mom might call him an orphan and then disown him.
And it's 2 hours and 10 minutes from Foster to my house. So that's how much time. That's how much of a head start I've got. But look, if he's going to drive anything like he drove in this series, I think I'll be fine on the decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, we jest. And you know what? We can forgive Sean for that mistake, given the amount of mistakes we've seen from literally everybody else. He was bound to make a mistake sooner or later, and at least he made it when he wasn't in the lead. And I'll tell you what, Shepard's got a much better run out of that hairpin than Colin Moss, but just not quite enough to use it going into the final corner.
We've still got 7 minutes in this race as well, so there's plenty of time for stuff to happen.
And Colin Moss's fastest lap now, a 1:36.3,
and
Shepard a 1:36.238 with the assistance of the toe.
The toe is strong.
The 35s are getting closer. They're getting closer. Could we see it before the end of this race? Wouldn't bet against it with these two. They are driving incredibly well.
If it's got to be anyone, it's got to be Brody, right? Because he's got the assistance of the toe. You know, he's doing what Kenny is doing, but with toe.
Look how close he's getting to Kenny as well.
Let's have
So
exactly
I wouldn't
a look at how close he's getting. You know what? These Formula Fords, I actually love the sound of these things. For anyone not in the know, these run the 1.6 litre Ecotech engines, naturally aspirated, of course, and I think they only do like 120-ish horsepower or thereabouts. But my God, are they quick? They are so quick because these things are like 400 kilos. And they're like little rocket ships. Their 0 to 100 is like 4.5 seconds, which is, you know, well and truly into like supercars territory. And I know they're like a rookie car in the series, but when you jump into one of these things IRL, they feel really terrified. They're terrified. I've driven like 10 laps on one of these things, and I've spent the whole time just terrified.
Oh,
this is an opportunity for Shepard.
All on the dirt. Slowed down a lot, but he's done it at the right bit of the track because there's just nowhere for Shepard to get past here.
Yeah, he's just sort of planted in the middle of the track, right? And then, you know, what do you do if you're Brody there? You're not just going to drive into the back of the man. And as I say that, Christensen's overtaken Ben Miles for 4th.
There's no way you can maintain his momentum without either whacking the back of Colin Moss or having to do such a drastic maneuver that he would compromise himself and potentially put himself into a spin. It just looks like Shepard at this point got a little bit more confidence. The car looks a little bit more settled than Colin Moss ahead. I think this pace is coming a little bit easier to Shepard than it's Colin Moss, and that's probably because he's getting the toe to help him out a little bit.
And in the background there,
here we go. Here's the move. Oh no, Shepard pulling out of it rather than going down the inside of the chicane.
I think if you make that move there, that's a crash, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's. I wouldn't do it on anything other than the last lap.
I don't even know if I'd do it on the last lap. And as I say that, Sean Doyle has moved up into 5th as well.
Yep, getting past Ben Miles. Next up for Doyle is Christensen, who's only half a second ahead. So a 4th place looking to be on the cards for Doyle if he can get the move done to Christensen. But we know Christensen can defend.
He's rapid because he was catching up to the back of Doyle when he fell off the track last time.
Yeah, Christensen's rapid and he's got a fantastic defense. I just don't think he's quite got the consistency of Colin Moss, Shepard, Doyle tonight because he's got the pace. I think he does have the pace, Christensen, and he can certainly defend. His racecraft is phenomenal. Just not had the pace, the consistency here tonight to run right at the front of the race.
Yeah, and this is Connors' first clean race so far too.
It certainly is. Certainly is.
He's had two
we say that.
incidents.
A little bit of time to go, so it still could all go wrong.
Yes, there's still time
a couple of moments,
for poor Kenny to make a mistake.
But looking very good so far. Has driven absolutely brilliantly. It looks like he's pulled up a little bit of a gap to Shepherd this lap. Not much, but certainly Shepherd not as close coming up into the chicane as he was last lap, where we visibly saw him have to back out of a move and just give a little bit of space to Callum Moss in case something did go wrong. So if you're Shepherd, where are you planning to make this move?
Anywhere I can. Kenny's putting up such a defense. I'm looking for any opportunity I can get. Anytime he's stuck a nose up or had a little bit of a peak, Kenny's had an answer for it. Like, his defensive driving has been excellent here. I'm not even sure he's driving that defensively. Like, I haven't really seen Kenny defending, what you would call clean air. Which is when you make a defensive move when you don't really need to. But maybe that's what Brodie needs to be doing here. Sticking his nose up in places where it doesn't necessarily belong, and then swapping back to the racing line, just so you can move Kenny offline. You want him to take that narrow entrance. That's going to reduce his exit speeds on these corners, and then trying to get the overspeed going down the straight. So you're not actually trying to make a move. You just want to compromise Kenny's entries into these corners enough that you can sort of sneak up behind him and maybe catch him out. I mean, Kenny's a smart racer. This guy's like Gran Turismo world champion. But we see that happen even in professional sports. You've just got to make them think that there is a realistic opportunity that you're going to make that move. And then it's not that corner, but it's the next one that you're aiming for. So you set it up, you peek for the inside, Kenny moves over, takes a shallow line, gets a slow exit speed, and then Brodie Shepherd in the next straight will get that little bit of overrun on him. That's what I would be doing if I were Brodie right now.
Yeah, I think Brodie isn't showing his nose, so I don't think he wants to give Conor Moss a hint of where he's going to go for it. And I mean, you said it yourself. Going on to the final lap, do you want to be first or second? Because you suggested earlier that you might want to be second. So I do wonder if Shepherd's just saving up to make one lunge, one move into the final lap and just try and make it smooth and clinical. Or maybe if he just doesn't quite have the pace and he's only hanging in there because of the toe. That could be another scenario. So maybe he just doesn't have the pace to build a sufficient overlap anywhere on the circuit and overtake him. But you're right, Conor Moss. He's being pressured by the
Shepherd is staying in this with toe. I think Kenny's just got a little bit more pace in hand than Shepherd does, and this could be just a case
very close here.
Yeah, this could be a case of Shepherd just towing, Kenny towing Shepherd around for an easy second place. I mean, Brodie is fast on pace, and he has kept it clean this race, so I'm not going to take anything away from him. But I think I'll be surprised. I mean, Cody, he's going to go for it. Like, I definitely think he's going to make a move for it. But I think I'll be surprised if he pulls it off.
Oh, Conor Moss going defensive there. He's going defensive into the fast right-hander, which is going to give Brodie a better run down into the chicane, or should theoretically do. That was close. That was very close. Shepherd's up on the outside. The overlap. Depends if he gets all the way past him before they go to chicane. Conor Moss brakes very late. Takes far too much speed. Cuts the chicane. That will be a slowdown. That will definitely be a slowdown. Pulls over. And I think Shepherd's going to get the win. Unless Shepherd mucks it up into the hairpin. Gets it right. He says. Still time to spin. Gets it right. And I think that might be the win for Brodie Shepherd. Good night, Donna Doyle. Enjoy your debrief with your son, who's had a very successful night of racing.
No, that's not his son anymore.
That's right. Crossing the line for the win. His first win of the round, Brodie Shepherd. In second place is Callum Moss, just getting it wrong on the defence into the chicane, but his strongest race of the night by far. Survived a lot of pressure from Shepherd, but just couldn't make it all the way to the end. Matthew Brunt's going to bring it home in third place. Then Christensen's in 4th, Sean Doyle will bring it home in 5th, then Miles in 6th, Atkinson in 7th, and Nick Burling retired after only a couple of laps. So there we go. Doyle not able to complete the clean sweep, and it wasn't a surprise to see Doyle go barreling off the track.
You know, he's been so clean this whole series. That is, you know, not just, and when I say series, I don't just mean the races tonight, but like this whole season, he's been racing really, really clean. This is uncharacteristic of Doyle.
Yeah, he's a very clean racer, thoroughly fun to race against. He's someone you can trust when you go wheel to wheel with him, and just getting it wrong at a very tricky circuit car combination. So not surprised to see him get it wrong in one race, but getting it wrong in one race is much better than getting it wrong in two, like we saw for the majority of the field. Really impressed with Brody Shepherd's drive in the final race. Much better drive, cut out the mistakes, and did so well stick so close to King Colomos, and got that fantastic run at sort of 2/3 of the way through the final lap at Coppice, and managed to make the move into the chicane essentially because Colomos put Colomos into such a compromised position that it was always going to be hard for Colomos to maintain the lead from there. Colomos a much better final race. Did he need to defend Coppice? Not sure, but certainly Shepherd was right next to him, so I don't think it was the wrong decision as such. We'd never know without an alternate reality where he doesn't defend. But from that moment on, they were always going to be alongside each other into the chicane, and it was going to be really hard for Colomos to win from there. So he did a really good job to take a very strong second place. And then Brunt probably Mr. Consistent throughout the 3 races. Did very well, I think in top 5 for every race. So Brunt had a strong round, but obviously the round's got to go to Doyle, right? He was superb race 1, untouchable in race 2, and then only a mistake from him in race 3 meant that he wasn't able to join Shepherd and Colomos in the battle for the lead. And now we will bring into the broadcast room for interviews. We've got Matthew Brunt, we've Brody Shepherd, and K-Dot.
Mr. Colomos himself.
Colomos himself.
Welcome, gentlemen. Firstly, congratulations to all of you on a spectacular race. A very exciting race as well. Okay, so I'd like to start with Brody. Because I think you gave us the most exciting final lap there. We were on board with you as you came across the finish line. Talk me through the last few laps with that battle with Kenny.
Yeah, it was a good battle. It's a very difficult track to overtake on. The straights aren't quite long enough to make full use of the draft, except for along into the chicane. But if you send a dive bomb in there, you're most likely gonna kill both the cars there. So it was a quite rough race, but it was fun just following Kenny. Couldn't get past him. He was quick, holding me back. So it was a good race and lots of fun.
And that last mistake on that last lap, Kenny, talk me through what happened there.
Yeah, we were just pushing harder and harder each lap, and finally Brody got a good run on me, and I just went in too late into the chicane, so kind of gave it away. But it was great. It was a really good fun race, and I was happy to keep it on track that race and have some battles up at the front.
Yeah, I think that was almost your first clean race of the series tonight. It's you looked like you had plenty of pace in hand tonight. Just a couple of little incidents in heat 1 and heat 2. Was that just like a cold tire? Drop a tire into the grass sorts of things.
It was exactly both of those. Yeah, the car's new to me. I haven't driven it before tonight. So race 1. Yeah, just cold tyres going over that little hill down towards turn 2 got me. And then in race 2, yeah, just a touch of the grass and around she goes. But really good fun to drive. Pretty wild, but good fun.
Yeah, fantastic. And Mr. Matthew Brunt, Force Trauma, give us a little bit of a rundown on the series for you tonight in general. So races 1, 2, and 3.
To be honest, I struggled with pace the whole night. I did very little practice, which is my fault. But I couldn't get a handle on getting through the chicane in that last section, so I was struggling for pace all night, and managed to get through a few crashes in the last one, which sort of got me in the position I was in.
Yeah, the thing that I think really stood out to me tonight was this looked like a really tricky car and track combination. I don't know that there was anybody, genuinely, I don't think there was anybody that didn't have an incident tonight.
Yeah, it was to get through the chicane. You pretty much get an incident through there. It's very hard to keep the pace and not get them.
Yeah. Was there anyone that managed to stay on track? And I'm not just talking about like like a little 1x. I mean like genuine like full moments.
I did, but
you did?
I was very slow too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wasn't fast, so it's probably why.
Yeah, I think just from my observations in this race, anyone that was driving sort of 9/10 or 10/10 had a couple of moments where they found that extra 11/10 and ambition exceeding adhesion.
Yeah, I know definitely for me, that second race I tried to push it a little bit more than what I was meant to, and spun it twice and ruined my race. So it was just to be able to get all the pace, you had to use all of the runoff, which meant using the grass as well in some points, which ended up in death.
So, Brunt, I do believe potentially this might put you in second place. Tim Vaughan is currently leading the championship as of last round. But I don't know if you noticed, it's not here tonight.
It's a surprise. Not that Tim's not here, but that I'm anywhere on the championship.
Yeah, so you're actually third on the championship. You've been discounting yourself a little bit tonight, but you've put in some solid laps and some consistency. And I think that's the real story for tonight. Was consistency. We don't have him in here, but Sean Doyle finished first and second, pretty much by virtue of just driving faultlessly in the first two races. And it even looked like he could have been on to take a hat trick until he sort of unsettled himself.
Yeah, he definitely always got the pace, Sean. He was he actually had that little moment near me in that last race, but he was going to streak ahead and probably catch up with the boys up the front if he got going. But and I was lucky at the end there. Jamie he was catching me at about 2 seconds a lap, I think, but I just held him off in the last couple of corners.
So I've got one more question for each of you, and I'll ask you one at a time. If you had to pick one other driver for you to go head-to-head in on 10 laps, race of your choice, and just in terms of who you would want to be racing side by side with, who would you pick? I'll start with you, Brody.
As in from this league, probably Sean and Kenny were great to race. Just kept it clean and always got quite a lot of pace, so you can push them quite a lot as well.
Fantastic. Kenny, who would you pick?
I'd pick Sean just because I missed out on that tonight. He's right up there, and I feel like if we're all together there, it would have been some pretty good battles, especially in that last one. So I'd pick Sean.
All right, and Matthew, finish us off. Who would you pick?
I definitely wouldn't pick Jamie because he keeps running into me. But I didn't really have great races tonight, but last round with Brody was pretty good. Guys you can race side by side and trust. It's pretty handy.
I think having guys. This is what I love most about league racing, is having guys that you consistently race with and who you can trust to have battles with. I think that's where the heart of iRacing and leagues is. So thank you to all three of you, and once again, congratulations. And we will see you guys all in a fortnight if we don't catch you next week.
Thanks guys.
See ya.
All right, Liam, take us out.
Okay, so what have we got coming to you over the rest of the week? We've got an extra race for you this week, because not only do we have the GR86s coming to you tomorrow night from, I believe, Lime Rock Park at the normal time for the 86s, we will then be having the second round of the Endurance Championship on Sunday coming to you from Sandown, and that will be a 4-hour race. We will get that graphic on screen for those of you that don't like to listen to our voices just as soon as we can. And then, you know what? We won't bring you. Here we go. It's coming. I can guarantee the schedule is coming. The schedule is coming. Here it is. The ANZ ESeries Week 8 schedule, confirming what I've just told you. So there you go. You got the GR86 from Lime Rock Park. Tomorrow night practice starts from 7:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Qualifying started at 8:15, so you got a little bit of extra time to get home, get dinner, and then get in the sim rig and join us at Lime Rock Park for 2 fantastic, fun 20-minute races. And then, as I said, we have 4 hours of Sandown in the Endurance Series, and entries are still open, so please do get involved in that and make it a endurance race to remember. Right. Until we see you next, whether that be a Thursday or Sunday or not until Wednesday next week, I'm Liam Banks. Alongside me has been Mitch Patterson from us and from the rest of the ANZ ESeries team. Good night.